Boy, have I got a story for you. One I think will be enjoyable for the whole spectrum, neurotypicals and neuroatypicals as well. You know, it's a great example of the butterfly effect, where one tiny little insignificant decision can create this whole cascade of catastrophes across the course of an entire evening. My entire evening. It's hilarious in hindsight. So join me, won't you, on a magical, delightful journey into madness. Hello, friends. Welcome to Mr. Snayl's Wild Ride. I am Mr. Snayl, and the wild ride was my life last week in particular. Folks on the autism spectrum are known for their linear thinking and difficulty considering alternative strategies. At least, I certainly had trouble with that. And this rollicking good tale is a fabulous example of exactly that. Last Wednesday, we had, from what I can tell, was the last big snowstorm of the season. It snowed hard all day, and it blew hard all day and well into the night. I have this thing with my medication, other stuff too, but primarily with my medication, where I'm paranoid that I'm going to run out. I keep constantly checking, and everything's fine. I've got plenty. And sometimes I'll even count them, and I'll have plenty left. I'll still be paranoid, and I'll be fine, and then all of a sudden I'll be nearly out, and there'll be this mad dash to get refills on things. Now, like I said, this happens with other stuff too, and in this particular case, it was with the cat food. I got up that morning, filled the cat bowls, and that was the last of the cat food. And of course, our cats eat prescription diet stuff that we have to get from the vet. I'd been working on a project that ran long, and I wanted to get to the vet before it got dark. So I climb in the 4x4 pickup truck, and I drive to the vet. The roads were bad, but I drove slowly and carefully. And I got to the vet just fine, got the cat food just fine. On the way home, it's dark, visibility is very, very bad. I drove very carefully. I was using the four-wheel drive, very slowly. I had the radio off. I was being patient. I wasn't hurrying. I wasn't starving. Very calm, I swear. I got 1.5 miles from my house, and the truck just goes off the road. Not even that far off the road, but enough. Into a snowbank / ditch. I tried the backing and forthing, and I couldn't get out. Now here's where the trouble starts. So I have to decide what I'm going to do. The weather's very bad. Tow trucks are not going to just come in 10 minutes. So I have to decide if I'm going to sit here in the truck and wait for several hours for a tow guy to come, or if I'm just going to go home. And I'm in this mode. I've been in this mode. Just go to the vet, get the cat food, and get home. Consciously or unconsciously, I'm still in this get home with the cat food, get home with the cat food. I don't want to wait in the truck. So it didn't take me very long to just decide, I'll just take the cat food home. I'll just take the cat food and I'll walk home. I'll just walk home. I've got to get home with the cat food. So I turn the car off. I pick up the 16-pound bag of cat food, throw it over my shoulder, and I start walking in the snowstorm, in the dark. Brilliant, right? So this is the tiny decision that starts the cascade. So when I finally get home, I am exhausted. I am starving. I am cold. I am wet. And I collapse. I eat like an apple. I climb into my bed to get warm, and I call my wife, who's still in New York, right? She tells me everything I'm supposed to do, which of course I already know, intellectually I know. And so I basically cut the conversation short because I have to get on it. It's like 9 o'clock at this point. And so, she says you have to call for a tow. And so in my linear way of thinking, that means you call the AAA type third-party company to tow the car, knowing that it's going to take several hours. So there's linear thinking mistake number 2, because I don't call like somebody in the town that I live in and have them come, and I don't call my automotive insurance company, even though I have towing through my auto insurance. I call the AAA type place. And they say it'll be somebody within 160 minutes. So it'll be 11:10 p.m. approximately. I say, okay. So then I follow the second instruction my wife gave me, which is to call the local police dispatch to let them know that, the car's going to be there for a while, but I'm on it, so please don't ticket it and tow it and whatever. And I have a nice conversation with the police dispatch guy. He's going to do what he can to alert everybody that the car at the such and such location, that I'm on it, yada yada. I'm done with that. I try to get some more food. I'm waiting. I doze off. Then in an hour, the phone rings. It's the guy in the tow truck. We have an extremely confusing conversation. He keeps saying how if it's plowed, then his little two-wheeler will be able to blah, blah, blah. But if it's not plowed, then he can't. But he's still going to come by, but let him know if I see the plow go by. And it's like, I can't see the road from my house. And I know that it hasn't been plowed. It doesn't usually get plowed till like 4 in the morning around here. So I don't know why, like, if you don't have a truck that can pull me out, then tell me you're not coming. Or something. But it's all this vague stuff. Do I take action? Do I call him out on this? No. I'm in linear mode. I just have to wait for the guy. He said it's going to be a while. I say, okay. So I fall asleep again. At around 2 in the morning, he calls again. He's finally done. He's coming to pull my truck out now. I say, okay. So I start to put clothes on, getting ready for the long walk to get to my truck. And then he calls again. It's just like a few minutes later. There were a bunch of semis on the interstate that were just in a huge accident. He's got to go take care of that. It's like a rule. I say, okay. He says he doesn't know how long it's going to take. I say, okay. So what do? Do I call somebody else? No. I start to take my clothes off, and I go back to bed. 5:30, the phone rings again. It's the police. I'm here with your truck, the woman says. The snow plow's trying to get through, she says.
But I called the dispatch guy.
I say.
But I called the tow truck guy.
I say. She says, did you call somebody in town? I say, no. Aren't they closed? So I have this conversation with the officer. The whole time I'm like 9, and I just don't want to get into trouble, right? Of course, the longer we're talking, the more like an idiot I feel. And I didn't say to her, but then I'd have to pay for it. And stuff like that, you know, even though those thoughts went through my head. Now, the police officer, she's perfectly nice, patient, understanding, doesn't treat me like I'm an idiot. Nobody in this entire evening has treated me like I did anything wrong. But each time I have these encounters, I realize, oh, there's another option, right? That I just did not see, was incapable of seeing. She, of course, you know, being a townie, which I am technically, just an alien townie in my case, she, you know, rattles off the names of the 3 in-town auto shops that have towers or whatever. So I look one of them up and I call the guy and yeah, he'll come right over. So I get dressed again and I mosey on over to the truck. He was a real swell guy. He even explains to me, you know, if you have towing through your insurance and you submit this, you know, they might be able to reimburse you for some or whatever. Cool. So then I go home again, right? I go back to bed again. At 11 o'clock, what do you suppose happens? The original tow guy calls. Very apologetic about how long it took with the semis. Did I still need a tow? A normal person would have called and canceled that tow. No, I just didn't need it anymore. I was very lucky throughout this whole nightmare because there have been times in my life where my inability to take a turn off of the linear thought path has made people angry, made people yell at me. People have called me names and screamed at me and stuff, you know, gotten very angry because I didn't use common sense or I wasn't thinking or what's wrong with you or whatever, you know. And much to my pleasant surprise, every individual that I dealt with were perfectly nice. You know, now who knows what they were thinking about this dumbass that didn't use common sense, but they were very nice to my face. So I was very fortunate. Will I remember for next time? I hope so. Okay, that's it for me. As always, please like and share this video. Please subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. We'll see you next week. Before I let you go, I want to tell you about one of my favorite YouTubers, the Mish. She vlogs about her experiences with Asperger's syndrome over on her channel. She's articulate, she's intelligent, she's pretty funny, actually. She's also a very talented singer and songwriter who just released her CD last year, so you should check her out if you haven't already. The reason I bring her up is because just at the end of last year, Dr. Tony Attwood invited her to come observe at his clinic in Australia for this approaching summer. Of course, Tony Attwood is the leading living expert on Asperger's syndrome in the world today. Granted, the clinic is going to provide room and board for a good portion of the time that she's there. Unfortunately, not for the entire time. The problem is that she lives in Denmark. She needs to buy the plane ticket to get there and to cover some incidentals and for the room and board that the clinic isn't covering and so forth. So she's put together a donation campaign to try to help cover some of her expenses. Go check her out. And if you like what you see over at her channel, maybe throw a few bucks her way. We'll see you next week.